Survivors and cowards have to go but burning the sun.
What's going on, everybody? Farley here, and tonight I want to talk about my Pogues vinyl collection. I've been a huge fan of the Pogues since 1988. That's the year that they released If I Should Fall From Grace With God. It's also the year that I saw them for the first time on Saturday Night Live, and they were on with an episode hosted by Rob Lowe, and was totally blown away. Had never heard anything like the Pogues before. Immediately the next day went and got If I Should Fall From Grace With God, and it's a band I've been listening to ever since on varied formats. But for the last few years I've been building up my Pogues vinyl collection, and it's a band that I intend on getting as much as I can in terms of their full-lengths, EPs, which I'm good on the full-lengths and EPs, but I need a few more singles, especially their Stiff Records singles. That's the record label they were on originally. I did have a chance to see the Pogues live on a reunion tour. I can't remember the year, but they came through Atlanta. And I also saw Shane MacGowan after he was kicked out of the Pogues. He formed another band called the Popes, P-O-P-E-S, and I saw them when they came through Atlanta. So I've had the opportunity to see the Pogues once, Shane MacGowan twice. Shane MacGowan is one of my favorite artists of all time. He is my absolute favorite lyric writer of all time, and what else can I say, man? It's just a band that I enjoy listening to. I listen to a lot, but probably don't talk enough about, just because typically I'm talking about metal or something else. So tonight I just wanted to showcase my collection, and yeah, let me know what you think. So let's start out with the full lengths. We're going to start out, of course, with their debut, Red Roses For Me, which released 1984. This is just a gem of a record, man. This is their most punk album. It's their most raw album. The lyrics are great. They're funny. They're bawdy. Everything you expect from an Irish band. Shane MacGowan in his prime. And yeah, just a great album. Like I say, 1984. Shane MacGowan had been in a punk band before the Pogues called the Nipple Erectors, which was later shortened to the Nips. And so this was his first band after the Nipple Erectors. The Nipple Erectors being straight punk, he then incorporated punk into Irish traditional music, and there you come with the Pogues. Thank God he did it. All right, next, the full length, Rum Sodomy and the Lash. This saw him, the Pogues, add a couple more members to the band to kind of round out the band and give it a more full sound. And so there are some epics on here. This is my second favorite album. They pretty much go in order, I won't lie. My favorite song on here, A Pair of Brown Eyes, which was the first, well, no, Kitty was the first ballad. But my favorite ballad by Shane MacGowan is A Pair of Brown Eyes. But this also featured some faster tunes like the original, but they also slowed it down a bit on a lot of songs, including their cover of the song and the band played Waltzing Matilda. So just a really slow, sad song written by Eric Pogues from Australia, and their cover is amazingly emotional. So, and the title of the album is Rum Sodomy and the Lash, and that is from a quote from Winston Churchill. Next, this is what many consider to be the masterpiece, the most polished album. I agree, it's the one with the best production. I think it's a 5. All three of the first albums are 5-star. But I tend to like the more raw sound of the other albums a little bit more. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. This shows the complete band of what they would be for years. Cato Reardon, the original bassist for the band. Kind of a funny story. Where's Kate? There she is. Or Kat. She actually fell in love with Elvis Costello, who produced this album, and left the band. to be his touring bassist, and I think they got married. I don't think they're together anymore though. And so they have a new bassist on this one, Daryl Hunt, but they actually added from Rum Sodomy and the Lash. They added Philip Chevron here. On the first album, Shane MacGowan actually played acoustic guitar. They added Philip Chevron on this album. And on this album, they added just one more member. Okay. So this would be the band for the next 3 albums. So this is 88's If I Should Fall from Grace of God. Again, this is the first album I bought from them and just was blown away. Now, you start hearing the band running into some trouble, especially with Shane's drinking. On this album, this is where the ranking gets a little messed up. So I ranked the first 3 albums 1, 2, and 3 in terms of how much I like them. But this right here is my least favorite Pogues album with Shane MacGowan. This is Peace and Love. They experimented a little too much for me on here. And I don't mind a band experimenting, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But White City, great song. London Your Lady's a great song. And in between those 2 albums, to me, there's not that many great songs in there. There's some decent songs, and then there's some songs that I just don't enjoy at all. Tombstone being one. Blue Heaven. They had different members of the band sing a few more songs on this album than normal. That's another thing. I'm such a fan of Shane MacGowan. And then their last album with Shane MacGowan is called Hell's Ditch from 89 or 90. And this is number 4 for me. It's ranked just ahead of Peace and Love. There was a lot of talk. I remember reading about the band. So much turmoil going on this album. But to me, it still is a better album than Peace and Love, despite all of the issues that were going on. But there's so many great songs on here. Hell's Ditch is one of my favorite songs, the title track. You've got Rain Street, which Rain Street was a return to a punky sound. Really dig that. 6 to Go. So many great songs. Sunny Side of the Street, Sayonara, Lorca's Novena. Just, yeah. I know a lot of people think this album is weak and that the band was coming apart, and it's true. They ended up kicking Shane out on the tour in support of this album. Their last show I actually have on VHS was in Japan. And then, you know, that was it for the band. They told him to hit the road. And they released another couple of albums without Shane that I will not collect because I think they're absolute garbage. There is a song, Tuesday Morning, that charted in the U.S. I think it was a bigger hit in the U.K. There was an album, Waiting for Herb was the first album they did without Shane. That song's decent. It's catchy, but like I say, the rest of the album, I've tried to get into it. I can't. It's just missing the energy and the lyrics of Shane MacGowan, and so just can't do it without him. All right, and so next we got a couple of EPs. First off, we've got Poetry in Motion, which came out in '86, 4-track EP. This has got The Body of an American, which is just one of the best Pogue songs ever. Lyrically, Shane MacGowan wrote the lyrics. The lyrics to this is actually featured in the some British anthologies. It's, you know, as a poem. So it just shows the power of Shane MacGowan's lyrics and that he can get them published in anthologies as poems. I mean, it's just how good he is. But this also had like a 1950 sound with London Girl, which is kind of weird because on their other EP, Yeah, 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 which came out in 88, 87, 88, this had more of a funky 1960 sound to it on the song, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. But it also features the Limerick Rake, which is a traditional Irish song, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, this came out 88. So, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. The American version, the U.S. version, which I don't have, has a cover of Honky Tonk Women on it. by the Pogues. So this does not have that. This is the long play single. I've got one bootleg. Soit. This is the Pogues. This is a bootleg of a live performance that they did. It's recorded in 2 different places. Germany, in Hamburg, Germany in '85, and then at the Hammersmith Odeon in London in '85. And yeah, it's not a bad. This is live. The sound quality is not the best, but it's still a decent sounding bootleg. And I picked this up for cheap when I went to Amoeba Records out in Los Angeles with my buddy. And it's actually the vinyl album that I've had the longest of the Pogues. I also have Shane MacGowan and the Pogues, his band after he left the Pogues or was kicked out. He says he left. They say he got kicked out. I tend to believe he got kicked out, but this came out in 90. I'm always bad at dates. This is a 2018 repressing, but shortly after he was kicked out of the Pogues, he released this with the Pogues. Quality album. The lyrics and his singing. The lyrics tended to get maybe a little more dark and a little more nationalist for me. But, and when I mean nationalist, I mean Irish nationalist for me on some songs. And maybe a little more bawdy, but not in a good way. I don't know. Some overtly just, dirty songs on that album. Especially on the next one, Crock of Gold, which hasn't, as far as I know, been released on vinyl. But if it is, I'll pick it up. But it's got some songs on there with some questionable lyrics, I'll say. But still, The Snake with Eyes of Garnet's a great song on here. The Song with No Name. I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5. But his voice is starting to break more. It was getting more raspy, which some people liked. But due to his heavy drug use and drinking, his health had deteriorated. I think his voice suffered. And his ability to have that kind of energy that he had with the Pogues was suffering. So let's finish it up. I've talked enough. I've got 3 7-inches. I've got the classic Christmas song, Fairy Tale in New York, backed with the Battle March medley. If people ever get into the Pogues, usually the first song they talk about is that one. We've got Pogues and the Dubliners, just great stuff. Oh, I forgot to talk about this one. So, Pogues with the Dubliners, I got 1 7-inch. This is the Irish Rover, backed with the Railroad Mountain Dew. Boy, Shane MacGowan was a big fan of Ronnie Drew of the Dubliners, and they decided to get together for this, and it's just one of the most amazing things ever recorded, in my opinion. And they also did Whiskey in the Jar, Jack's Heroes. It's another 12-inch single I forgot I had. I love this cover, too. There's so much going on in here, and you kind of have to know a little bit about either Irish history or the band to know kind of what's going on a lot in these, and on the back as well. One thing Shane MacGowan will sing about and write lyrics about is Irish history a lot. We have Fiesta, which is a single off the Hell's Ditch. It's not my favorite, but I picked it up for cheap. And I showed you the Irish Rover. I showed you that. And the last thing I want to show is a non-Pogues album, but one that has a Pogues tune on it. Steve Earle, Copperhead Road. See, some of you may have listened to Steve Earle and not known it, or the Pogues and not known it, because the Pogues do a song with Steve Earle on here that really got some airplay back in the day. I mean, not as much as Copperhead Road, of course, but Johnny Come Lately. Every once in a while, the local country, well, I won't say local, a country station out of Atlanta, which plays classic country, not the new stuff, will play the song. But it's Johnny Come Lately is a duet between Steve Earle and the Pogues, which is featured on the Copperhead Road album. So if you have this album, you've heard a Pogues song, and you might not have known it. All right, that's it. That's my Pogues collection. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I definitely think the Pogues is a band that would appeal to anyone who likes punk, a little bit of post-punk, or heavier folk, or of course Irish traditional music and Irish rebel music. So definitely think it's a band that a lot of people could listen to and enjoy. And there's actually been a few that I've known. Bad English Rex has picked up some of their albums. And of course, Shamrock and Records has, I don't know how many albums he has, but he has a Pogues collection as well and is a big fan. So thanks for watching. I'm going to go. Everybody, take care. Saturday night. Hope everybody had a safe weekend. Have a good Sunday. Farley out.